The Constitution has been changed 27 times. Only once has America admitted an amendment was a mistake and undone it completely. It still is not fully gone. In 1919, the country banned alcohol everywhere, for everyone. 14 years later, it reversed itself, using a method it has never used before or since. But the ending is not as clean as most people think. This is the story of Prohibition and the amendment that undid it. Congress proposed the 18th Amendment in December of 1917. The states ratified it in January of 1919. But the amendment itself built in a delay. It would not take effect for a full year. Congress gave the entire country advance notice, and people used it. Legal buying and stockpiling spiked hard in the final weeks before the deadline. On January 17, 1920, the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol became illegal across the United States. Here is the detail almost nobody remembers. The amendment never banned owning alcohol or drinking it, only making, selling, and moving it. That gap would matter enormously. The amendment did not define what counted as illegal alcohol. That came from a separate law, the Volstead Act, passed in October of 1919. President Woodrow Wilson vetoed it. Congress overrode him the same day. The law set the legal limit at 0.5% alcohol, essentially banning beer and wine along with hard liquor, but it carved out real exceptions. Doctors could prescribe whiskey. Religious wine stayed legal, and you could still make alcohol at home for your own use. Those exceptions became loopholes almost immediately. Banning alcohol did not end the demand for it. It just moved the entire supply underground, and somebody had to run that supply. Al Capone ran Chicago's. By the late 1920s, his operation was pulling in an estimated $100 million a year. By 1930, he controlled around 6,000 speakeasies and was making more than $6 million a week just from beer and liquor. New York City alone had an estimated 32,000 speakeasies at Prohibition's peak. The term organized crime, as America uses it today, barely existed before Prohibition built the market that created it. Public opinion had already been souring through the 1920s, but the decisive push came from the stock market crash of 1929 and the Great Depression that followed. The government had spent over a decade giving up the ability to tax the entire alcohol industry, while that same industry now belonged completely to criminal syndicates instead. A country desperate for tax revenue and jobs finally had a reason strong enough to reverse course. Congress proposed the 21st Amendment in February of 1933, and this time it did something it has never done before or since. Instead of sending the amendment to state legislatures, Congress sent it to special state-ratifying conventions, delegates elected by ordinary voters, for the sole purpose of deciding this one question. Why? Because many state legislatures still leaned dry, propped up by rural districts, even as their own state's voters had shifted toward repeal. A convention elected specifically on this issue would answer more honestly than a legislature elected on everything else. It worked, and it worked fast. Utah became the 36th state to ratify at 5:32 in the evening on December 5, 1933. Measured from proposal to ratification, it took 288 days, one of the fastest amendments in American history. The 18th Amendment remains the only constitutional amendment the United States has ever fully repealed. Except repeal was never as total as it sounds. The 21st Amendment contains a second section, and it does something easy to miss. It explicitly preserves the right of individual states and counties to keep their own alcohol bans in place, even after the national one was gone. Repeal ended the federal ban. It never forced a single state or town to legalize anything. Some places simply chose to stay dry. As of a 2004 count, about half of Mississippi's counties still banned alcohol sales entirely. Dry counties and dry towns still exist across the country today, completely legally, under the same amendment that supposedly ended Prohibition. The only amendment America ever repealed. And it still has not fully let go. If this story stayed with you, like this video and subscribe. There are more of these than you would believe.